What does 40-year inflation, geopolitical conflict, planned rate hikes, and stock market volatility due to many other things equal? It equals fear. Many people are running to safety with their investments and they're selling out on what I think is an excellent opportunity now for us long-term investors. Now, there's a quote that's widely used, but it stands true. It's a very good quote, and that's Warren Buffett when he says, "Be fearful when there is greed, and be greedy when there is fear." I was, browsing through the internet. I found this sweater. I might have to buy this, but it says, "Buy the fear, sell the greed." And so, that is so true. If you look through history, when there is conflicts, when there's fear and it's creating these, red days, red months, even red years in the market, people sell out of stocks. And not just any stocks, but good quality stocks. They let the fear take over and they miss out on gains when the market does turn around and recover. And so when people are at their most fearful, that usually creates an excellent opportunity in the market for us long-term investors to go in there and get quality companies at excellent sales. And so, if you've been looking to start a position in a certain company that you really like, or you've been holding one for a while that you've been waiting to add to, this may be the time to do so. I logged into, my Robinhood account this morning. By the way, if you'd like a few free stocks, if you would like to open up an account with Robinhood, I have a link below in this video. But I logged in and I saw nothing but red. I mean, there's lots of stocks that are near bear territory or in bear territory, like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, Meta. I mean, these are companies that, they're quality companies. They have good cash flow. They have revenue growth. They have innovation that's going on. And a lot of people are just fearful due to a lot of the things that are blasted at us on the news and social media every single day. And so what I want to do is I want to look at some issues and the outlooks of these issues, right? Kind of why I'm still solid in buying stocks. First, we can take a look at inflation. Well, what does inflation do? Right now, it's at record highs. We see, how many posts do you see about the gas prices? It's flooding social media everywhere. But that means people are going to be spending less. And when they spend less, that does decrease inflation in the long term. And with the planned rate hikes, this should just mean that by the end of the year, like they're predicting, inflation should drop pretty decently. So that's what I think will happen. Reduce demand because people aren't spending like they used to. A lot of my friends, coworkers are cutting back on expenses. What does that do? That starts to reduce inflation. You look at the geopolitical conflict. Now, this is something that can be long-term. It can get much worse. But as of now, I really think that, with most of the world uniting and most of companies that have already pulled out of Russia, a lot of this has already been baked into the stock market. And we already know that this is already happening. We already have seen companies, the US and other allies react. And so I really think that a lot of it's already baked in. And you look at the prior wars and conflicts, like in the Middle East, that lasted for decades. Did we hear about it on the news every single day for decades? We did not. We have a short-term view span in America, in the world, and this will be something that will get less and less publicized the longer it starts to go on. We also have midterms around the corner, so that's going to take place and become the headlines, within probably starting here within the next 3 to 4 months. So though things can get much worse over there, and not to say that it can't still have a big drag on the stock market, but I think we're nearing a point where a lot of that is baked in, and any little bit of good news regarding that conflict is going to really send the market into a positive swing. And so I'm just betting that, this is something that will start to get less and less publicized and less on stock market investors' minds. That's just what I think. Then we have the rate hikes, as mentioned with related to inflation. This should help control inflation. They expect it to go down by the end of the year. And, I think, again, this is something that's baked into the stock market. We've been hearing about this for months. People have been speculating the worst of the worst, and that's what we do as natural human beings. So I think this is something that is baked in. We have stock volatility in general due to other things such as the supply chain and stuff like that. But this will eventually smooth out. It will go back up. It always does. Everyone tends to look at the negative, right? That's just how we are. That's why people are glued to the news all the time. But if you look at the history of the stock market, it always recovers. And we've been through some pretty awful things in all of our lifetimes. And so that's something that I think we just have to keep in mind. There is some good going on. The US is hiring, and it's been surprisingly strong due to everything that's going on. And so if we look at this chart I found on the US labor market, I kind of drew a line because it goes over 4 years, but I kind of drew a line as close as I could to like the last couple months. We see that the job openings ticked up, but they're also ticking a little bit down now in the last month or two. So again, that's just showing that the positions are being filled. You see that the new hires, it is starting to tick down, which means jobs are being fulfilled, right? So that is a positive thing. Then if we go to that little chart below with the orange in it, you see that layoffs and discharges have ticked up a little bit. And I think that's just due to different pressures and companies, getting through some analytics and measuring of, do they have too many employees? Where are they going to save in cost to increase their profits? So it's like a double standard, right? Some people are being laid off and stuff, but these companies do this in order to increase their profits. And that's why we invest in the stock market, because we can be on just one end of that, or we can be on the positive end of it. And so I'm investing in companies that may do this, and I don't, of course it's not an easy thing to talk about, but at the end of the day, these companies are constantly doing things to improve their profits, their revenue, their future cash flow. And so to me, that's a con and a pro, but you got to look at both sides, whether it's easy to or not. Then you have people quitting. That is reducing. That means that, to me, again, with the job openings, the companies fulfilling more positions, I think people are finally like, okay, with inflation high and stuff, I need to make some money. And I think it's starting to cool off a little bit. So this is good news. This is showing that we have some strength in the job market, some improvement, shall I say. But, again, the fear has caused, I think, overcorrections, in my opinion. I think that you look at companies like Meta, Netflix, small cap companies like Tattooed Chef, you have Microsoft, Disney, Amazon. These are all down anywhere from 20 to 50% off their highs. And with these companies, they all have excellent strengths between them, right? You have a lot of these companies have strong cash flows. They have revenue growth, they have innovation, they have big moats. These are all things that us as investors want when we invest in companies, but yet they are down 20 to 50% from their all-time highs. So for me, this is where I see the opportunity. These quality companies that are working hard day in and day out to improve and innovate and grow, they are on sale, and it's time for us to start analyzing them and picking out the ones that we want and investing. Let's talk about fear. So many let the fear drive their decisions, and it holds them back. It leads to failure. How many times do we see fear preventing somebody from asking for a promotion even though they know they've worked hard and deserve it? Many people will choose not to face that fear, and they lose out on potential promotions or growth with their company in their career. We see fear of working out because people think that others will judge them, and it prevents them from getting healthy and getting in shape because they have that fear that people are going to judge them when they go to the gym, which I've made many videos on this, but that is not the case when you go to the gym. It's actually very accepting. You have fear of, growing in just all other aspects and taking risks because you have fear of rejection. I'm going to tell you guys one of my fears. One of my fears is public speaking. One of the things that caused me to create a YouTube channel is because I wanted to improve on that public speaking aspect, right? And it has helped me greatly to get in front of this camera. Even though it might not be in front of a live audience, it's still putting myself out there, and it's actually improved the way that I am able to speak when I do have the opportunity to speak in public in front of others. It's been a huge improvement for me, and that is something that's just going to reflect and help me in my career and other areas of my life. And so there's just fear that lets people, takes over people, and it lets them stop themselves from succeeding, and it's not a good thing. And now we have fear in the stock market, which is causing people to sell out in masses. It's causing them to stop investing. It's causing them to make irrational decisions. And why? Why? Because our economy will continue to grow. It will continue to innovate. Companies will keep growing their revenue. They'll find ways to innovate and grow. The stock market has always been a great vehicle for wealth and generating that wealth and creating a great retirement and great income. And those that let fear, drive their decisions are the ones that lose in the end, but the ones that don't let the fear drive their decisions will win in the end. And so, there's another quote that I like from Warren Buffett, and I think this just speaks volumes, especially in today, in our, in the where we are today. But the stock market is a wonderfully efficient mechanism for transferring wealth from the impatient to the patient. And in this day and age, I think people are used to just getting things instantly, right? The internet has caused this whole, we need things now, and you get them usually now. Instant searches on the internet. You buy something right then and there, it gets delivered within a week. Well, investing isn't like that. It's supposed to be long-term growth. You can't, fall into these get-rich-quick schemes that people put out there, to start day trading and start buying into certain stocks that's going to go up 3,000%. All that is going to do is lose you money. I can almost guarantee that. There's only going to be a few winners in that game, and they're the ones that are going to be put up there on pedestals, and everyone's going to flock and fall for it themselves, because you look at the data, most people that try to time the market lose. They lose big. And so the game is that you need to take this time now with this volatility, this fear, and you need to continue buying your convictions in the stock market, your quality companies. This is not the time, in my opinion, to dump all your money in, because the volatility could last, like I said, for months, years even. But if you start buying or start continuing your buying like you always have, you're going to smooth out that curve, and you're going to be able to average down on some great companies and then really catch that tailwind back up and make some good profits. So I also think if you have the means to buy a little bit more in times like this, by all means do, but do not risk your, rainy day fund, and be sure to keep in mind that things can keep going down. And so that's why I think it's good to buy extra in times like this, but not to the point where you're bleeding yourself of money, and then if there is a big drop, you have nothing to put in. So buy regularly. If you have a little bit of money to buy extra, do so. I want to bring up another point before I wrap this video up. The stock market. If you look at the S&P 500, I maxed out this chart, and it went back all the way to 1982. This is a chart that goes back 40 years, and it's gone up 3,771%. So the point I am making is, if you started working in the job market in 1982, and you put your money into a broad market ETF, and after 40 years, so let's say you start at age 25, I think that's pretty, where a lot of people start investing, they get jobs and stuff like that. Over 40 years, that means you're 65, retirement age. If you started in 1982 and did not sell, did not worry about things, and just kept investing into, a diversified portfolio or ETF or mutual fund, and you were retiring right now, your gains would have been 3,771%. That's not to even include dividends that are reinvested. There's a lot of other things that could have caused your money to go up even more. And so the point being is those people didn't let fear drive them, right? There's a lot of things over the last 40 years that have happened where a lot of people chose fear and sold out and lost out on a lot of gains. I've told you examples of friends that sold out during the height of the pandemic because they were fearful, they knew it was going to go much lower, they didn't think it'd ever recover. But look what's happened since then, right? If you stayed invested, you won, you made money. If you pulled out, you lost. You either stopped investing altogether since, or you had to buy in at much higher prices. Where the best thing to do, the most logical thing to do, and to create wealth long term and win is to keep investing consistently no matter what the stock market does. And when there's opportunities, have a little bit of cash on the side to then put in. And not all at once. You kind of want to even it out because at times like this, like I said, it could be a few months, it could be a few years before things start to really turn around. And so what this is all about is all this fear, all this red we're seeing is creating opportunities, in my opinion. If you disagree with me, let me know. But if you agree, tell me what you're doing to not let the fear take over. What I'm doing is keeping my target on the long term and knowing that though my portfolio has taken a decent hit, I'm still analyzing continuously these companies and making sure they still fit within my thesis of where I want to put my money and thinking that and knowing that these companies probably have huge future opportunities and being diversified and staying invested knowing that long term I'm going to build great wealth. I've already gained so much money through dividends and have grown that. And so my unrealized gains or losses right now I don't care about. I don't worry because my focus is decades down the road. And most people, it's going to be that case. And so you can't let a few months, dictate your future. And you sell out and you lose money and you stop investing and then you don't have that nest egg, when you get older. So the stock market is a great tool to generate long-term wealth. Don't fall for those get-rich-quick schemes because that's a good way to lose your money. It's basically gambling, and I don't know anybody who's won it big gambling. I don't. Maybe a few hundred or $1,000, but I personally don't know anybody that has become millionaires from going to, Vegas or a casino and hitting it big like that. Instead, I know plenty of people who became millionaires investing over the long term, and that's what I'm going to do. I will be a millionaire someday, and it's going to be through steady, consistent investing in diversified quality portfolio. And so this journey that you guys are joining me on, I'm going to prove that. I'm not going to let the fear get to me. Yes, I'll make mistakes along the way, but I will learn and I will grow and I will share this with you guys to help you guys as well. And so if you're just tuning into this channel, please subscribe. I'm very transparent. I provide great content and it's always good to get another perspective and strategy, especially one where I am disciplined. I'm not going to be one of those that's going to say, hey, put all your money on red, right? No, instead, we're going to do this together and we're going to create some long-term wealth for ourselves. So don't let the fear get you. Focus on the opportunities right now and, just be patient. And so with that said, guys, we'll see you next time on Mark's Finance and Fitness. Have a wonderful day.